Welcome back, Pete. Happy Tuesday night. Back with our routine. My wife's upstairs watching The Bachelor. It's a rainy day, as my screen shows, here in Connecticut. Episode 45. This is Mike, joined by Pete, as always. Pete, how was your Labor Day weekend?
It was good. I labored, though. I did a lot of yard work. What about you?
I labored on Saturday, and then I rested on Monday.
That's all backwards. You can't follow instructions.
You know me. I don't do well with instructions. All right, so we've technically, per your email, come to the end of the 2022 season. So I want to start with
baby. It's week one.
The key milestones of 2022 before we look forward to 2023.
Okay.
What do you think the best thing that happened to this league was in the year 2022? I think there's only two options, but I'll let you take it.
I don't know. I can't even think of anything. Everything I can think of is 2021.
Lloyd.
That was last year.
Okay, then the best enhancement was us then.
Okay. Yeah, sure. That was also last year. All right, whatever.
All right, so we are here. We've got keepers in, lineup set. I did a random trade with Kevin that we don't need to talk about. It was random. I just wanted to do something for fun. Yeah. Tonight's episode is a review by doing a preview of the season. So what we're doing for the audience at home, we've got the Yahoo Power Rankings. They've told us who they think the best team in the league is, who they think the worst team in the league is. We're going to go team by team. We're going to talk through every team tonight. Pete's going to go through some good historical stats, start to give a picture of the season, and then we're going to wind it down by having a discussion about each individual manager, what we think their best case scenario is, what we think their worst case scenario is, and we'll end it with the way everyone wants us to end it, with who we think the playoffs and Super Bowl champ will be in 2020. Wait, do I call it 2023?
No, it's the year, the 22 Super Bowl, or you could just call it Super Bowl 24.
Super Bowl, because it's the 20. Oh, we should have started this a year earlier.
Yeah.
Oh well.
A year later.
All right. So anyway, let's quick reaction. Let's go through. So the way we did it, we put the teams in Yahoo. Yahoo tells us who they think the best, who they think the worst team is. Yeah. The best team I wasn't surprised about, which was Amos.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised about how closely they had the top two teams, innocent case. I was surprised I was the third team, and everything else I wasn't totally surprised. Any surprises you had when the power rankings came out when you saw them right away?
The first thing that stood out to me was that Innis is projected to go 14-1. That's pretty impressive. To even get a projection like that is pretty crazy.
It is.
I guess Yahoo still believes in Brian Casey, even though no one else in the draft really did.
Well, just remember, it doesn't take into account managerial habits.
That is true. I fell all the way down to 6th, which Yahoo always hates me, man. Last year, it said it was going to be last place last year. So thanks, Yahoo.
I don't think that's true. So were you surprised they had Darian 10 and Lloyd 9?
Somewhat. You know, it's you get so used to seeing Lloyd down in that position that you're like, the then to see Darian there. I thought that he had some good names in that draft. So yeah, the 10 rank did surprise me.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I was more surprised because Lloyd is now so heavy youth. Yeah, I was surprised that the youth got that much of a bump up in the season projections by Yahoo. But according to Yahoo, we have Innis and Spates in the first round of the playoffs and a rematch of a first round playoff last year, me versus Casey. I'm going to tease it here. That's not my playoff teams. We'll see who I have making the playoffs later in the pod. Let's do the review to preview. First team up is, according to the Yahoo Power Rankings, the 10th best team in the league this season. Draft day projections for the Killer Bees are looking at a 2-13 season. Let's see what Pete has to say about the projections and the rejections. That's not the right word for the Killer Bees this season.
Yeah. We'll try to keep everything consistent again. All right. So Christian Darian, last season, he finished in 8th place. That's the postseason finish. He had a 5-10 record. If you look at the last 5 years, there's 71 games. Okay. Christian's 40-31. That's a 54% winning percentage. That's 4th in the league. So he's in the top 4 of most games won in the last 5 years. He's finished.
He was 8th last year. Imagine what he was before last year, huh? Wow.
Yeah. If you look at his last couple finishes, he finished 8th, 3rd, 1st, and 8th. So he's kind of all over the place. His best record that he's ever had, his best opponent that he goes against, he's 4-2 in the last 5 years against DeVita and Spates. And then a team that's given him a lot of trouble, which you don't really think of, he's 5-5 against Larkin in the last 5 years. So believe it or not, Lloyd has been somewhat of Darian's kryptonite.
Yeah, I can see that.
For the season projections, as we mentioned, Yahoo has him at 10th place with a 2-13 record. He has the 7th easiest strength of schedule, in my opinion. So the way I figured out strength of schedule is you play 3 teams once.
Yep.
Okay. The goal is to get the hardest. No, you want the easiest possible teams, right? You want like because if you have the easiest ones in there, that means you're not playing them twice. That means your schedule's hard.
So according to Yahoo, you'd want to have Lloyd, Christian, and DeVita.
Yeah, that would be like the ideal schedule.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about those 3 a lot. So Darian has me, Lloyd, and Innes. So not a bad mix, but pretty tough. I have my best case and worst case scenarios. Do you want to start with yours?
No, let's do it, Pete. What's your best case and worst case? I'm really curious how you're going to do best case and worst case. So I want you to lead off, and then I'll give you my perspective on it.
Well, I kind of thought the way I defined it was I kind of thought like, okay, well, if I was on this team, what would be the best thing that could happen to me? If I was on this team, what would be the worst thing that could happen to me, realistically? And I think Christian would be if he was a playoff contender, I think that would be pretty unlikely. So I would say contending for the playoffs would probably be the best case scenario for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's had alternating years for his finishes. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So where was it? He finished 8th, 3rd, 8th, 1st, and 8th. So he's due for a good finish.
Yep.
So I figured that would be a playoff contention would be the best case scenario. I think for a worst case scenario, I think that the draft might come back to bite him. Drafting too many rookies a little bit too early, doesn't have enough depth. Maybe Hurts might struggle. He's kind of a borderline quarterback. And so I would say probably worst case scenario is those 2 things affect him and he finishes in 10th.
10th, yeah. So I think best case for Christian, I actually have best case for Christian making the playoffs. So to me, the path for him,
likely.
I don't know if it's likely. I said it would be the playoffs. And to me, there's 3 guys that are the key to Darian.
Okay.
He needs Javonte Williams to be the actual starter in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
To me, if Javonte Williams is platooning with Gordon again, no chance.
Yeah.
Second thing he needs Allen Robinson to take some of the cup volume.
Yeah.
Second thing. And if he does that, that's it. And third thing, he needs another Herculean approach for Jalen Hurts. If he gets those 3 things, I do think there's a path to playoff because a number of the guys he has, if he hits 2 of those rookies, you're now looking at a team that can make the playoffs.
Did you hear what Melvin Gordon said about Javonte?
So I podcast below my kids.
Yeah.
I'm getting yelled at them. I'm too loud. Their bedroom's right in front of them.
Just say, hey, you're stating facts. They got to come out loud.
I didn't hear what he said. No.
Melvin Gordon said that if he was playing fantasy, he wouldn't draft himself. He would draft Javonte Williams, and he has a lot of faith in himself. When your own teammate says that,
I agree with that. To me, worst case is exactly what I just said, but those 3 guys don't do it. Like I think his worst case is he finishes last again.
Yeah. Next.
And I think his volatility is one where I don't have him making the playoffs. He needs everything to go his way to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that if he makes the playoffs, it will be a very unlikely circumstance that really
he'd have to miss every injury. He'd need a huge year out of Robinson, a huge year out of ETN, who I didn't mention, on an offense that stinks. I think it's a long shot. I do think next year, I would probably predict Darian to be in the playoffs next year because he does have a lot of young guys. And I would imagine it's a two-year curve that he can get up to speed. And next year, I could see him being a playoff team.
I'm getting in line with that.
All right. Number 9, first time in 16 years, this guy's team has not been last in the power rankings. Number 9, whose projected record is tied with that of Christian Darian. The future. Oh, no, 3-12. Excuse me. Sorry, Dan. The power rankings have this guy 9th. His record is only 3-12. So let's go with the Orchids 2nd.
Yeah. Well, he finished last season. He was 3-12. Ross, over the last 5 years, compiled a 19-52 record.
Oh.
That is 27% winning percentage. That's by far the lowest in the league. The next lowest was DeVita at 39, which we'll get into that later.
Oh.
But Ross, a full 12% lower than the last person. So he's pretty bad.
He's won 1 out of every 4 games. Oh, God.
His finishes over the last 5 years have been 10th, 7th, 10th, 10th, 10th. So the 1 year that he finished 7th, I finished 10th. So we don't need to talk about that one.
I won't bring it up.
And then you know who finished last before me? That wasn't Ross.
Me.
You. Yep. Me and you were the last 2 people to finish last.
I'm worried one of us is there again.
So Ross did have some success against people. He had a 500 record against me. He was 3-3 in the last 5 years, and he was 5-5 against Darian in the last 5 years. So he did have some success. His worst record, or his biggest opponent, was Innes. He was 0-6 against Innes in the last 5 years. So Innes has just wiped the floor with him.
Yeah,
so as we said, he ranks 9th on Yahoo. He's projected for another 3-12 finish. He has the one of the hardest schedules in the league, which I think is it's the third hardest. The three are CJ, Christian, and Andy. So remember, you want bad teams,
right?
So CJ, Christian, and Andy. Yeah, that's tough teams to not play twice. If he makes it, I would say it would be very unlikely. Similar to Christian, I have them in the same grouping. Worst case scenario, it's hard when you got no place to go but up. What else are you gonna do? So
I think Lloyd's best case scenario, I don't think he can make the playoffs this year. More looking at his team, I think Darian has a higher ceiling than. I may have to actually move to the other room. I can do this at the same time. Darian's.
You know what we can do? Hey, you know what we can do?
What?
We can pause. I can run an ad, and then we can come back. You want to do that?
After the break, I'll tell you what Dan Larkin's actual ceiling is just after this.
All right, everybody, stay with us.